Warning, any copying, distribution, or public performance of this video is strictly prohibited and may subject the offender to civil and severe criminal penalties. The $1 Million Roundtable does not guarantee the accuracy of tax and legal matters and is not liable for error or omission. You are urged to check with tax and legal professionals in your state, province, or country. The MDRT also suggests you consult local insurance and security regulations and your company's compliance department pertaining to the use of any new sales material with clients. Copyright 2008 $1 Million Roundtable.
Always, always put the needs of the client first is the mantra of our next speaker. This serves as the underlying philosophy for his company and the expectation that he sets for those who work for him. Please welcome John McTigue.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm very honored to be here. Matter of fact, when I was reading the introduction book, it made the comment that I was a past top of the table member. I do, out of sake of full disclosure, I have to be honest about something. I do have a speech impediment. I stutter. It was instrumental in making me, helping me make top of the table, frankly. Because you see, I would tell people if they didn't buy this policy, I was going to read it to them. You think I'm joking? I would also like to personally thank the MDRT committee for having me go right after Consuela. There is no place you can run, there is no place you can hide. I will eventually get you. What an incredible message. And Consuela, I don't know where you are, there you are. For you to tell anybody that you're not a speaker, if being a speaker is having a message and touching somebody's heart and creating passion, lady, you're a speaker. Please give her a round of applause. Matter of fact, Consuela, when I was sitting backstage after hearing you talk and knowing I was next, I decided that I had to come up with a prayer. And being Catholic, you know, Catholics don't make up their own prayers. We just use the ones that somebody made for us. And they seem to work in the past, so we keep using them over and over and over again. But the only prayer I could come up with, because I'm Catholic, we're not very good at making up our own prayers, goes as following. It's the Speaking After Consuela prayer. Dear Lord, may my message hit their hearts before my breakfast hits the podium. I told you we Catholics weren't very good at making up prayers. So what's my life story, and why do I feel compelled to tell it? I think the operative word in this story is life, and I think it's important to share it with you because I think any speaker's messages will be impacted by who they are, their life experiences, their values, their biases, and their beliefs. I was born on April 14th, 1956. For those history buffs out there, that's when Abraham Lincoln was shot, the Titanic was sunk, and John W. McTigue was born, the three great American disasters. I was born to Jerry and Catherine McTigue exactly 40 weeks after a Northwestern Mutual annual meeting. Main platform, concurrent session, never knew. My father was an agency manager for Northwestern Mutual in a small northwestern Iowa town. It was very humbling for me to know, and still to know, that the roof over my head, the food on my table, my college education was provided to me and for me by the sale of this magical product we know as life insurance. I have 13 immediate and extended family members that have been part of the great life and legacy and livelihood that we know as the life insurance business. I grew up in a small town called Fort Dodge, Iowa. How small was it? Let me put it this way. We used to say the major industry was jury duty. And for those of you who feel like you have a lot of competition in your market, my dad was somehow able to recruit, develop, and grow 13 roundtable producers in a town of 26,000. Yeah, I'd give him a round of applause for that too. I wish I had that market penetration in Chicago. You see, though, my dad expected 100% of his firm to belong to the round table. And because of that, they did. He believed in them before they believed in themselves. And speaking of believing in someone, 27 years ago, someone believed in a young audio-visual producer, the guys that make these incredible presentations back here. As somebody that did it for a living, you have no idea how much work it is. So for those of you back there someplace that are trying to make me look halfway decent, I'd like to say thank you very much. But he gave an audio-visual producer a shot. He gave me a chance. He gave me a ticket. And frankly, I wasn't a very good candidate. Not only was I an audio-visual producer with no background in finance or anything like that, but he said one thing to me. He said, I'll give you a plan, I'll give you a roadmap. You put in the passion, and there isn't anything that you can't dream about, that you can't succeed. Boy, was he right. Boy, did he give me a gift. I'll challenge you in the audience. Who do you have in your community that you can give this gift of a career to? Somebody gave it to you. Please pass it on. But I was 27 years old. I wasn't clapping for me. I was clapping for those of you that have cared enough to give the gift of this business to somebody else. Thank you. But 27 years ago, a kid with a speech impediment, and actually, I was a lot worse then. Matter of fact, they measured it. I used to stutter 46 times a minute, 46 problems per minute. When you figure it out, it doesn't leave a lot to say much in there. And I had two sounds I had specific problems with, L's and I's. You get it? I couldn't tell people what we sold. It was I remember once I hung up on the guy. He says, "What are you selling, kid?" And I go, "Hubcaps. I'm selling hubcaps." I hung up. I was hoping and begging that we could get into the financial planning business simply so I could tell people what the heck I sold. Next stage, I fell in love at age 38 with Vanessa. Got married. Daughter of Major General Dean Sanglis, who's in the audience, whose son is also in the business. And I would like to state one thing here clearly. This was not an arranged marriage, okay? My 86-year-old mother to this day receives the Northwestern Mutual newsletter. I specifically left my cell phone backstage. She would call and ask how it's going. It happened during the teleprompter rehearsal. Imagine 6 months ago getting a phone call from your mother, to which she states the following. "John, I noticed that your premium's way up, but the policy count of your office seems to be a bit flat." What's the plan? I said, God almighty, Mom, can't you just call and ask like the grandkids like everybody else? You know, this job is high pressure enough without you piling on. But it was a big part of who I was. At age 35 and single, I believed then, and I still believe, that life insurance was the best place that I could put money. And I still believe it. When you think about it, a product with a phenomenal long-term rate of return, unburdened by taxes, self-completing in the event of death, disability, be protected from creditors in certain areas, and in addition to all that, and most importantly, leaving a legacy behind that ensures dreams continue. What a magical product we offer. I was also exposed early on, fortunately and unfortunately, to the value of the product and the reason that it is so badly needed and yet so underestimated. I want to flash back for a minute, if I could, to 1978. Living in South Minneapolis with three of your best friends in the world, the Four Musketeers. You're up on Saturday morning together, you're in your boxer shorts, your t-shirts, sitting there eating your Frosted Flakes, lying about what happened on Friday night. Tucker, Jukesy, and Kevin living in this god-awful house. We shared the house, we shared pizzas, we shared paychecks at times, we shared 7 Jimmy Buffett concerts, we shared the hangovers that go along with 7 Jimmy Buffett concerts. We shared everything. All eventually got married, moved on. Except myself. Irish are late bloomers. We truly believe funerals should be celebrated and weddings postponed as long as possible. I think it was immaturity and irresponsibility, frankly, but that's a different story. It started with my friend Kevin. He called me up and he said, John, I know we were going to get together, and had an appointment. You see, he ran a very successful business in Minneapolis. And he said, I'm going to have to reschedule it next week. You see, I got a doctor appointment. No big deal. I just got to go in and I've got to get a mole removed. See, I got this pasty Irish skin, and I think I spent too much time outside as a kid. But we'll schedule it the week after that. And the phone call I got a couple of weeks after that wasn't my jovial friend Kevin. It was a person who was physically shaken, he was scared, he was nervous, and he shared with me what happened. You see, what they tried to do when they went in to dig out the mole is they dug, and they found out that it had gotten into his lymph glands. And I thought, it's just skin cancer, it's no big deal. But I really had no idea how severe it was. He fought a courageous battle for 2.5 years of treatments and radiations and therapies, and eventually lost the battle. And I remember walking into his wake and seeing his wife, Lynn, and 3 beautiful children under 5. And as David talked about so eloquently, it's always interesting. The conversation kind of stopped, and she walked over, and she said, "John, are we going to be all right? I know you handled all this stuff." And I said, "Yeah." Kevin made the right but the difficult decisions, and because of the decisions he made, and because he loved you, you will be fine. 18 months after that, I got a phone call from Jim out in California. He said, "Did you hear about Jukesy?" I said, "What's up with Jukesy?" You see, Jukesy was the manager of a salt plant in Kansas. And what they do is they shoot 220-degree boiling water down a stainless steel pipe into salt deposits. They pump it back up, the water evaporates, and what you have left is the salt. And he was down there in this 36-inch pipe, and they never knew what happened, but hunched over doing an inspection with his assistant manager, and a valve released. And they heard the roar of this boiling water. And the problem is, when you're in a 36-inch pipe hunched over, you can't run. You kind of shuffle, you get down on your hands and knees, and you go as fast as you can. Trying to get to a ladder going up 10 feet to a manhole cover. Steve, in an act of heroism, stopped at the last moment and pushed the assistant out the top. The result was that allowed his assistant manager to have third-degree burns from only the waist down. Steve, on the other hand, was totally immersed. And he went through 2.5 days of living hell, of the skin grafts, and in consciousness, out of consciousness. And 2.5 days after that, died, leaving a beautiful wife and a 2-year-old girl. My friend Jim and I, the day before the funeral, got together and say, we're going to do this eulogy. What are we going to do? And we decided to write the eulogy in the form of a letter, so that hopefully 18 years from now, a little girl could understand how special her daddy was. How can you encapsulate a lifetime of lost memories in a letter to a little girl? You can't. A letter can't replace a daddy. But we tried. Jim and I got on the airplane and we went to our respective homes. Him to California and myself to Minnesota. He and I kept in touch and went on with our lives, even though our lives weren't the same. And I think everybody handles these situations differently. And I don't know if there is a connection. But about 18 months after that, Jim walked into a Walmart and took out his MasterCard and charged 12 feet of rope. I don't know what goes through your mind between 4 in the afternoon when you buy 12 feet of rope and at 1 at night when you hang yourself. But the third or the fourth musketeer was gone. It was a very hard time for me, personally. Frankly, I couldn't figure out why this was happening. To write and deliver 2 of the 3 eulogies for your best friends was very difficult. But as much I didn't know what was happening, I did know that the $4.1 million of death benefit that I delivered allowed 3 families to maintain their homes, their lives, their college educations for their children, and in the end, their dignity. I'm also proud to say, and I think this is important, not one of them brought up insurance. Not one of them wanted to talk about it. What they wanted to talk about at that age was BMWs, vacations, hot tubs. And I think, frankly, those are the natural conversations that somebody wants to have. It's unnatural to think about the unthinkable. But that's what we do. That's who we are. That is our special calling. If I'd only talked about what they wanted to talk about, I wouldn't have lived up to my responsibility. And the dreams for their families wouldn't have lived on. I think that's why I am who I am. That's my life story. was a life created, grown, supported, and impacted by our industry and life insurance. Now that you've heard a little bit about who I am, imagine a few years ago when I walk into my office and I start to hear some things that are very troubling. John, I'm not going to talk to him about insurance right off the bat. I'm going to sell him investments and then I'll come back and talk about that other stuff. John, why do we talk so much about life insurance around here? John, people don't always want to talk about life insurance. John, I don't want to be pigeonholed as just a life insurance agent. My reaction was one of anger, disbelief, sadness, self-doubt. Was I biased because I was a managing partner? No. I was biased because who I am. I was biased because of the experiences that had formed me. I saw my firm, as Phil Richards said, heading down a slippery slope. I saw people shifting from a life insurance agent to an order taker, from a financial planner to a broker, from a hunter to a gatherer, from an advisor to an asset accumulator, from a relationship to a commodity, from purpose to coasting, from integrity to income. It was very disturbing, and I sat back and said, how did we get here? How did this become just a business? And I figured it out, I think. I think our business is so darn hard. We try to figure out a way to decrease or try to eliminate the rejection and the frustration when we try to help people and they won't return our calls. They won't follow our recommendations. They won't follow through. And I think as over time what happens is this rejection causes us to build up calluses around our heart and our soul. When we start to look at this as just a business versus a calling. And I think you do need to build up some calluses. I think you need to build up enough calluses to do the difficult part of the business on a day-to-day basis. But if you build up too many calluses, if you protect yourselves too much, you start to lose that ability to feel. We start to lose the passion. You forget why we came into this incredible business and how you and we make a difference. Please, I beg you, don't ever let it just become a business. You need that passion, that feeling of responsibility, that missionary zeal. It's the only way you and your clients will ever reach their true potential. And I always want you to remember something. People will follow those with conviction, not because they understand, but because they believe. You are the spark. Your clients need your passion. So as your proposals go this thick to this thick to this thick, it can't make up for you not having that passion. It can't make up for you looking someone in the eye and saying, I believe you need to do this, and you need to do this today. You bring the urgency, not them. You are that secret ingredient. William James once said, your religion will either be an acute fever or a dull habit. So I want to ask you today, has your business become a dull habit? Or do you still have that acute fever? I'm not talking about today in this auditorium. After Consuela's talk, if you don't have that fever today, you're dead. I'm talking about how you act in your home on a day-to-day basis. If you had that acute fever, would you ask for 5 referrals, or would you want 50? Would you want only 100 clients, Or would you feel compelled to help as many people as you can? You see, I think we need to go back to that old-time religion, that one-on-one, belly-to-belly, helping clients and prospects do what they won't do on their own. Let me ask you this. If it takes 15 times your income to replace 75% of your income, who's going to have those conversations in your community if you don't? Somewhere between 35 and 40% has zero life insurance. If not you, who? Who's going to protect your neighbors from ever being poor? The whole financial service industry, it seems, is so worried about making people wealthy. Who is concerned besides us in this room about making sure they're never poor? Who's going to tell them the truth? Who's going to have the difficult conversations that they don't want to have? Not just educating and advocating, but implementing. You as a group, collectively, may be the best and only chance our world has of realizing financial peace of mind. And I'll ask you again, if not you, who? I deeply believe our clients deserve and need a trusted advisor who will aid them in the implementation of both the plan and the strategies that mitigate the risk and give them peace of mind. And mitigate all the risks. Please, not just the ones that are easy in underwriting. Please don't ever say you're not going to sell disability because it's hard to sell and underwriting is tough. That isn't about the client, that's about us. Please get out of the way and help your clients. If you're going to put on the firefighter's uniform, fight the whole fire. You are their only chance. You know, passion, purpose, and courage allows you to do what's difficult. But in the end, it all comes down to courage. The courage to ask for a lead. The courage to pick up the phone. The courage to ask for the order. As Solomon said so eloquently yesterday, the courage to drink the white water. The courage to use your own potential. That's the scariest one. You know, as Abraham Lincoln said, everybody has talent. What is rare is to take the talent where it leads us. To continually grow takes courage. Allowing yourselves to dream takes courage. For your first-time roundtable members out there, to ask for referrals when you're 25 years old and don't know much about the business takes courage. For the people that have made it 25 years, to ask for referrals when you're 55 and know everything, but have to risk the rejection, that takes real courage. But you know what? You're not asking for you. We need to get over the notion that we're asking for us. It was never about us. You're asking for referrals to find out who else you can help. What I love about this business is we start out in life getting paid for what we do. And in the end, we get paid for who we are, the value that we add to others. I love this meeting because you as a group are very special. You add value. You are changing lives incredibly every day. My relationship with this business, the magical product we call life insurance, and the round table has truly been a gift. You've also been given a gift and a responsibility. You can hoard that gift, or you can share it with 50 couples in your community this year. You can give the gift of financial security and peace of mind to 50 couples. Please have the courage to give them that gift. Thank you and have a great day.
For additional information on the Million Dollar Roundtable products and services, contact the Achievement Department at 847-692-6378 or visit the web at www.mdrtpowercenter.org.